Are you an airline pilot wanting to better your finances? Today, I'm interviewing Casey Smith, president of Wiser Wealth Management and a former airline pilot. Stay tuned for more. Welcome to a Wiser Retirement Podcast. Airline pilots start here. Today, we're talking about your finances, where to begin, what to prioritize, and how to plan for the long flight ahead. I'm Grace Kennedy, and today I'm joined by Casey Smith. Each week, we bring you practical advice on retirement, investing, and planning for your financial future. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. Let's get started.
Hey, Grace.
Hey.
I'm sitting on the other side of the table again.
Yes, you are. I'm still the host today.
Still the host.
Always the host.
All right, Grace.
Why not?
Well, what's new?
What
it's
is
almost,
new?
we're getting closer to Christmas. That's cool.
We are. It's cold outside.
Have you done your Christmas shopping yet?
Oh my gosh, no. I'm getting married in April.
Right.
So I think I'm like, sorry, everyone. You may not be getting a gift this year.
Oh, we're going to save all our resources.
Right. Sorry.
For-
I'm just
for-
going to
for
skip
the
the
wedding?
entire family.
Oh,
Yeah.
Is it because you don't have time because you're doing so much planning?
Well, it's just time and money. Weddings are expensive. So
I hear this. Yeah, I see it in
yes.
client budgets.
It's the
Very
new
expensive.
thing. Right. Yes.
Yeah, we were talking. I think we had dinner with some of the others here a few nights ago.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about bachelorette parties.
Yeah.
So I went home.
That alone is expensive. Yeah.
I went home and I asked my wife. I said they were asking me at dinner where I went on my bachelor trip, and she's like, those things weren't really a thing when we got married 25 years ago. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Or it was probably more casual than it is now.
It was like a day or something.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, good. Because I thought, man, am I just forgetting things? Like, don't you take the Alzheimer's test?
Remember.
I know. I was sitting there at dinner going, I don't have anything to add this
did I
conversation.
take
I don't
one?
think I even went on one. And of course, everyone was looking at me like, you didn't go on a bachelor trip? I was like, I don't have any friends. I don't know what to say.
I know, it's a big to-do now. So yeah, that's also expensive, but it sounds like a whole 4-day thing at this point.
Yeah.
Rather than a day.
Yeah. And I found out that the bachelor or the bachelorette doesn't have to pay, everyone else chips in for them.
Which is crazy. I did not do that, so no one come for me. I'm pitching in my own, but I've been on some where they didn't pay.
Interesting.
And it's fine. I want to celebrate them, but
I'm just very particular about my travel at my at my age, so I wouldn't want anybody else have to pay for that.
Right. Well, yes, but in your 20s, we're not quite doing.
In my 20s, maybe I wasn't as picky. I don't know.
No, right. So so this has nothing to do with our podcast today, but
friendly banter.
A little about us. That's what we're going through right now.
So you're interviewing me.
I am interviewing you.
And what are we talking about today?
Pilots.
Yes, my favorite topic.
I know it is, and you're the best person to talk to about it. So, yeah, we're just talking about pilots, and we all know that they have a very unique situation in general, especially when it is their approach to finances. So, you have all the answers, right?
Man, I lived it. And we have great team members here that also have the answers. It's not just me, but I'm representative of all the financial advisors and their knowledge of the airline pilot world. And that's what makes our firm unique and is what makes our clients unique, right? And
you have hands-on experience, I feel like, in both of the worlds, finance and airline pilot. We have lots of podcasts about that. But yeah, I did dual career. That's how I built this firm. Over 12 years was flying at night and working in finance in the daytime. And in 2014, I was able to stop flying and start focusing on Wiser more. Yeah.
And here we are. We got almost 17 people here now or something along those lines.
Yeah, we do.
Came back from a lunch, so 12 people at least in office today.
I know.
But yeah, I've been very fortunate to have two passions, and it's been fun to live out both.
Mm-hmm.
I did get to fly a CRJ for 10 years, and that was fun. And Beach 1900 before that. That's what I learned. And that's where I got my feet wet in the commercial industry. And that's a little more of a blue collar airplane, get a little dirty flying a Beach 1900. But the CRJ was probably the most hated regional jet, right? That people go on. They think they're getting on a 737. They get in this little tiny jet, right?
Yeah.
So people get a little nervous about that. But it was a fine jet to fly for a career. But for me in my aviation career, I worked in some of the worst possible times.
Yeah.
the financial crisis in 2001, and then, or I'm sorry, the September 11th in 2001, and then you had financial crisis in '08, and then all the bankruptcies and all the things that happened in between. Right. And I was also building hours, so I didn't have an opportunity to get to the majors as fast as what others would be able to do today. Right. So it's very different times, but I enjoyed it, and I also enjoy getting to sleep in on some days. I enjoy being in the same time zone. And I enjoy being at kids' events. So exactly. I'm living the positive side of not being an airline pilot right now.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, so that's a little bit of your background. And we, for those that are maybe listening and they're not a pilot, maybe they don't even, they're like, why are you saying they're unique? So, I mean, like, why do we say that they have unique financial, the way that they go about things or their opportunities? Like, why don't you tell us a little bit about why we say they're unique? Yeah,
the industry is very scattered. So the pilots we typically are working with are Delta, American, United, Southwest, Alaska, more of your common large carriers, right? But there's also this whole world of cargo. You have Atlas, you have Coletta, you have, of course, UPS, FedEx.
Yeah.
And these are all structured slightly differently. So it's the same airplane in most cases, but it could be totally different benefits and pay. And it's really based on what that local union has been able to negotiate with management.
Yeah.
And that ebbs and flows. Like FedEx still has a pension where American, well, I just say nobody else does.
They're the last one standing.
Yes, but the other airlines have large matching. And the most common thing I hear or we hear from clients or prospects is, I really wanted to find someone who understood me because I went to my local person that was recommended by a friend of mine, and they turned me away and told me to go back and talk to HR because I definitely don't get 17 or 18% of what I make put into my 401k plan. And they said that was wrong. And then I found your website and I found out that, oh, wow, here's a person who actually knows how this actually works, right? So it's the in the type of work that you do. Are you narrow body? Are you wide body pilot? Are you in your first few years? Are you in your last few years? It all varies based on the situation. And then there's a lot of people, quote, who are experts who want to work for airline pilots now because in the last 5 to 8 years, we've had really good contracts that have been negotiated, especially in the Delta, American, United front. And these pilots have a lot more revenue now than they ever used to. And in my opinion, they're finally getting paid for the job and the risk they take on a day-to-day basis. But unfortunately, that comes with a lot of people in our industry thinking they know everything about pilots when they really just want to manage the assets and not do anything else different. And so it's you have companies like Allworth, you have Creative that say that they work with pilots, but they're not doing the right kind of financial planning. And quite honestly, they're just after the charge of 1 to 1.5% fee on your 401k plan. And that's unnecessary.
Right.
So Wiser to the rescue.
Exactly.
And we're trying to save people from those big fees.
From things like that. Yeah.
And do our fiduciary duty within the airline industry and help these people not get taken advantage of.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that happens a lot to pilots just starting out too, just because they're like, oh my gosh, I all of a sudden have like this overwhelming amount of income that I'm not maybe used to. And so that's kind of like whenever they start getting hassled by those people. That
second and third year pay for sure. Absolutely.
Yes.
Airline pilots are a little unique in that you start off, it's not as bad as it used to be. I mean, I got paid $18 an hour. My first job I had, I spent more, it cost me more to get to work. I was in Bar Harbor, Maine. It took me cost me more to get to work and to live there to get ready to fly than it did flying.
Yeah.
But it's what you did to build your flight time to get out of there to go to someplace that was more legit.
Makes sense.
So, but pays much better now at the beginning, but also the student loan bills are bigger.
Yeah.
And then the cost of living obviously is more. The airplanes are fuller now. It's a little harder to commute, but there's commuter clauses. There's other things that have come in since I've left the industry. But I guess the bottom line is it's not always a smooth transition. You have Spirit pilots right now that are working their way backwards. Maybe Frontier is going to be next on that list. So there's a lot of things within the industry that you have to understand and what to plan for. It's not like you just get a job at Coca-Cola and you're going to get these steady pay raises your entire life, and maybe you'll get to management. And it's really clean. It's not clean at all.
Right.
And you have to be ready for the surprises.
Exactly. Yeah. So talking about like, I guess, entering, whether you're a new pilot or maybe you're just transitioning a career, you did something else and now you're a pilot. So what would you say, like when it comes to money, what's one thing that most pilots don't think about earlier in their career like that?
The young pilots right now have never experienced setback career-wise. Like I just mentioned, you have a few at Spirit that are getting furloughed. But that's really the first mass furloughs that we've seen in our industry in probably 10 years. Mm-hmm. So that's an airline specific issue. They have a business model that's broken. Whether or not the airline survives is a big question. Frontier has the same business model, so we could see some risk there down the road. And there's other low cost models that might survive that are a little different. Like Allegiant has threatened furloughs in the past. I don't believe that ever actually happened, or if it did, it was kind of short lived. But they're more point to point. They fly from one place to the other place. You're kind of home at night. It's kind of how Colgan did it, honestly, back in the day when I was there in the early 2000s, where you still have Frontier, which is your low cost, and Spirit, which you're still kind of doing the hub and spoke thing for the most part, which people actually are buying. They want to buy a seat on Delta and know that there's not going to be a fist fight in the back of the airplane.
Yeah.
So they're willing to pay a premium right now.
Yeah.
And Delta's selling more first class seats than they ever have in the past. In the past, it typically has been to reward loyal customers with the free upgrade, but there's a less percentage of free upgrades and more people just buying the seat that they want.
Going straight for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with like, okay, I'm gonna have to travel, but I'm not dealing with the madness that's happened post COVID. I'm just going to buy my seat.
Yeah.
So that
guaranteed.
Yeah. And so that's reshaping the business model a bit, but as a pilot, you're not really in charge of that. So the number one thing I would tell a young pilot is eliminate all your debt. So don't overbuy your first home, which is kind of in the debt scenario. But you want to eliminate your debt so that you can handle any mass layoffs should that happen. Because if you're at the bottom of the seniority list, there's a couple things that could happen. One, there's no more hiring behind you, so you're kind of stuck in that reserve slot, or you're stuck flying the flights that nobody wants. You are getting paid. You are going to move up the seniority list, but you're not going to feel the quality of life change as much. And you might not want to pick up extra trips because you already have the most unproductive, 3, 4, 5, 6 day trips already. So your income might be somewhat limited at that point, where you have a more senior person higher at the pay scale, has trips everybody wants, easily can drop them, or has room to pick up more trips. Their income can increase their income pretty quickly, where a junior pilot is going to have a harder time doing that. So the first thing I would tell any young pilot is clean up the balance sheet, start working on eliminating the debt. Most likely you've come through a regional at this point. You've made it to a major. So let's don't get a major expense lifestyle just yet. Let's focus on cleaning things up and being ready for more income in the future.
Yeah, totally agree. And you touched on, the younger pilots haven't experienced the mass layoffs and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I remember in one podcast you said oh my gosh, we were talking to a 24-year-old and you're like, wow, that is the career lottery. Like, good for you. Like, you're on such a good trajectory. But like you said, that they just haven't experienced that quite yet. And so I guess a way to prepare, I'm not saying you need to just be living in fear all the time, but to prepare for that, obviously an emergency fund is very important. I mean, for anyone, whether you're a pilot or not, but like you were just saying, pilots have very variable income based on how many trips you're picking up or what your base hours are. So how would you tell someone to build their emergency fund with that, consideration?
Yeah, it's just living below your means. So you move to Delta the first year, or American United that first year, you're probably just kind of surviving on the lower income. The second year pay picks up significantly. So in that second year, stay on that first year lifestyle and pay off debt and build reserves.
Yeah.
Before we continue, do you want to make the most of your airline's 401k plan? We've created free 401k allocation guides for most major airlines to help you do just that. Download yours for free at pilotretirement.com. Now back to the episode.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I feel like we would tell other people as well. Just don't get too ahead of yourself.
Right.
Like you'll get there. So that makes sense. Yeah. So when we're talking about, we take pilots through financial steps. We have the 3 series process that we take everyone, especially pilots. So what would you say to a pilot? What are the first 3 financial steps? Just in general, not necessarily like in our process, but what would you say like the first 3 things that they should do are?
Yeah, I guess it goes back to it goes back to the debt thing. Debt can be such a lifestyle killer. We see clients that struggle with lifestyle issues, the cost of lifestyle. They never quite get ahead. Thank goodness they're getting such a large percentage in their Delta 401k. That's what's saving them. But I would argue eliminate your debts. Make sure you're maxing out your 401k. The company's going to put in a good chunk, but you should be putting in yours pre-tax or Roth, depending on your situation. And then I think the third thing is get your allocation right. So I would go and download. We do that for free on the website. You can download your allocation for your airline 401k allocation. We track those. This is what other people are charging 1.5% for. We give it away for free.
Yeah,
because the values in the financial planning.
The plan, right?
The robot can manage assets these days. So we give away that information. You can go to wiserinvestor.com, click on pilot or I think it's airline section.
It's airlines. Then you can click your specific airline.
Airline's about the middle of the page, and then after that, you'll end up on our landing page where you can select your airline and do the download. So I would encourage everyone to do that, whether you use our services or not. That's what it's there for.
Yeah, it's there.
I started that when I started that when I was at Atlantic Southeast Airlines, ASA, back in the day. The airline no longer exists now, but I would do these 401k retirement workshops through ALPA. And at the end, people are like, okay, I understand what you were saying, but I sort of understand what you're saying, but can you just give me the answers?
Right.
And so I had these pre-printed sheets that had like low, medium, or high risk. I would say, well, here, just follow this. Which one do you want? After a 2-hour workshop, here I am just giving the answers for free. but made a lot of friends doing that. So that was fun. Many of those are now Wiser clients.
Yeah.
But yeah, we carried that forward. We just did it through electronically. So you take a risk questionnaire, and that gives you an idea of which portfolio you should be using. So it's automated. But if you're under the age of 50, you can be fairly aggressive. You can do the 91.9 allocation. But it's all right there. And Andrew here at our office, we call him the king of data. He's the guy that tracks all this. And if we update it, if you downloaded one and we update the allocation, you'll get an email. But there's really no real reason to update those allocations right now. We haven't really done much in the last 2 years. We do tend to underweight like foreign stock.
Yeah.
So if Andrew decides that, okay, I think it's time to add more back to foreign stock, then everyone who's ever downloaded that list, there's thousands of them. We'll get an email saying, hey,
that's a great tool. And we've even I know we've done some consultations and they're like, yeah, we already have your allocation.
Right.
We're like, well, good. You've already done some of the work right there. But that is such a great tool for the pilots to be able just to automatically go and get that for their 401k. So we've talked about the 401k a lot. We've talked about all these crazy matches and all that kind of stuff. So for someone that may not know, can you explain a little bit like what their structure is and what the match is, their 401k, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. If you're at a mid-level career or even beginning your career as an airline pilot, you want to look for the right benefits if you have choices. So I would say interview anytime you get a chance, because interview is always a good time to practice your interviewing skills. So many people say, I don't know if I want to go to Delta or American United or not. I'm not sure what, corporate guys. And I said, well, do you have an offer? And they're like, oh no. I said, well, you haven't interviewed yet. You haven't done through the steps. Go through the interview. If you get the job offer, then let's talk about whether or not you should take it. And you have a couple of weeks to make that decision. Right. So I would say, if you look at the major airlines, they're putting in 17 to 18% of what you make into the 401k on an annual basis. If you drop down to like an Atlas or even a Coletta, that percentage drops significantly. So you are not going to have as a built up 401k plan if you're at these other companies. Yeah,
that's true.
If you're FedEx or UPS, you should be okay there. But as you slide down to ATI or some of these airlines, the most privileged, haven't heard of, but all the pilots know what I'm talking about. The benefits are not there. Maybe those unions can negotiate for those, but I don't know that I'd want to be, I don't know if I'd want to go to the airline hoping that it gets better.
Right.
And American Airlines is going to be hiring the most pilots over the next 12 months. I'd rather go to American and fly there knowing that I have these great retirement benefits, especially if you're late to the game. So I'm 47. So if you're in my age bracket and you're an airline pilot, the chances are you're behind on your 401k because of all the crap that happened during that lost decade. I would be looking at an airline that is going to enable me to catch up faster.
Yeah.
And we have pilots that went to American in their 50s, mid 50s. It's going to have less than 10 years at the airline, and they're going to be able to retire just fine.
Yeah. Because
of that. Where if they had gone to GoJets or if they'd gone to Endeavor or someplace like that, you don't have those benefits.
Yeah.
So if you're at the regional level listening to this podcast, you probably should do the math and say, hey, maybe I need to be moving, because those regionals, while you might have a great quality of life, you're not going to touch unless you've been a really good saver of these years. You're not going to be able to touch what the majors have in benefits. Even if you just never upgrade to captain, you just stay as a first officer, you should be able to be maxing out that $70,000 a year into a 401k plan.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a good strategy to think of. That's even something that I haven't even thought about. Just being in that world like that. Okay, so speaking on that, I guess, what is like one of the biggest, we work with a lot of pilots. We hear a lot of stories, especially you, because they come just directly for you half the time.
Right.
You get text messages and calls, all that kind of stuff, whether they're a client or not. So what's one of the biggest success stories that you've been told about a pilot that started out early and kind of where they are now?
Honestly, I think success stories are always better told about the underdog.
Yeah.
So the kid at 24 years old who got a job at Delta, he won the career lottery. Is what I told him. I think you were on that call with me. I was like, dude, you just won the career lottery. He's like, yeah, I know. That's what everyone keeps telling me. I'm like, dude, you don't even know how good you have it. I'll tell a success story that started at ASA when I was back then, and it's an existing client. We'll call him John. His name's not John because we can't give out client names on a podcast.
Yeah.
But I did some retirement planning for him, and he was 3 years away from retirement, mandatory retirement, 65. And every time, I told him, it was one of those, you've been a part of a few of these conversations with me where you have to deliver not so good advice, or not, it's good advice, but not so good news.
Yes.
And I remember saying, okay, John, look, you have to credit 95 hours every month for the next 3 years. Like, you can't fly less. You're going to have to fly more. And at the regional level, that was at the time was a little harder. Different union rules, a little harder to get those credits. So, and credits is kind of like the number of hours, I guess. But sometimes you can fly a flight that gives you more credits than you get in flight time. So you might be doing a flight for 4 hours, but the minimum day credit is 8. So you're going to get paid 8 hours, do that 4-hour flight. So this is how pilots kind of make extra money. You build high credit lines with low flying. That's the idea, right?
Okay.
So I'd done the math with him using our software, and every time I felt bad because, like, man, this he's going to kind of barely get into retirement, but he has to hit that 95 to do it. Can't coast. I already had some health issues, which kept him out of flying for a little bit. But Concourse D at Hartsfield. So I did night stuff. So I roll in at the airport at 8:00 at night for like a 9:00 departure somewhere. I'd fly it there, go to a hotel for maybe 4 hours, and get up the next morning, fly airplane back, and then I was done. And then I would come back to work. So every time I saw John, he'd be like 4 gates over, and he'd raise his hand and he'd be like, hey, I got my 95.
There you go.
I got my 95. It's like I'd be on the train, moving from like Concourse D to see the gate change or something. And here's John. He's a tall guy anyway, so you kind of pick him out of the crowd. Yeah. But he would see me go, I got my 95.
That's so funny.
So he had his 95, and we got him there.
Yeah, I love that.
We got him there. He got to retirement. He retired. He walked away. And the good news for him is he kind of retired into a shortage.
Yeah.
And so all the instructors are now gone to fly. And so he actually picked up a nice instructing job.
There you go.
And he still does it. He's in his in his early 70s, and he gets to pick his own schedule. So maybe he instructs for a week out of the month or something, and he's still making $75,000 a year, barely working. And he's around airplanes and pilots, which we all love, right?
Yeah. Yes, we all love that.
So yeah, I think that's one of my favorite success stories.
Yeah.
From that standpoint. And then after that, you kind of have just the normal. I have another ASA guy that came in, and we're trying to project out, this 3 beautiful girls. They live nearby. And I said, hey, this is what life looks like. This is what you got to do. You got to get rid of this debt. They had not a ton of debt, but enough to cause enough trouble. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay. And then you kind of sense that the burden that was put on them on that meeting, and then they didn't really come back a whole lot after that. But then he got the job at Delta, and they came in, and I redid their plan, and I said, okay, this is now what the future looks like. This is in the next 18 months, I want you to get rid of all this debt. Mm-hmm. And, the wife sitting there with tears streaming down her eyes. And I'm thinking, okay, what did I do? As a man, I'm like, oh crap, I made her cry.
Not again.
Oh, this is not good.
You guys.
But I think she's it was like tears of joy.
Yeah.
Of like, oh my gosh, like we don't have to live like this.
Yeah.
Forever. This is before we had
a
big increase in regional pay. So you had a guy working his butt off, and he's making like $80,000 a year, and he's never home. Right.
That's crazy.
He had a small engine shop on the side.
Yeah.
But I remember her just kind of tears in her eyes, like we're going to be okay. And then today they're doing great.
Yeah.
So I think they just stuck with it. You know,
that's what you have to do.
We had a family out of Salt Lake City that we did a review meeting with. They're probably about due actually, but we did a financial plan for them. Remember, we did our review meeting, and all of a sudden all this debt was gone. And I was like, you're
like, wow.
Yeah. Did you guys just not tell me about this debt? Like we're just pretend it's not there. But no, it was legit. It was all gone.
Yeah.
And their projection is huge.
Right.
So that's amazing.
Yeah. It is really cool to see those stories.
And I don't do that much planning anymore. These are just stories that
you're hearing. Yeah.
I did those 3, but our team is doing all this with pilots now. So I lose that. I lose a little bit of that connection from the planning standpoint. But those are success stories from people who were probably going to be okay on their own, but because they went through a planning process, they're going to be much, much better off because they know where every extra dollar now needs to be going to be that much more free financially in the future. Yeah,
totally understand. Yeah, and I mean, thank goodness, like you just said, they did find us. They came here, and they may have been good by themselves, but it is nice that they were able to find us, and we were able to know their plan. But on top of that, a lot of we hear a lot of pilots. They come in and they're like, "Oh, I was with someone previously. They were managing my assets, managing my 401k." And some, maybe they don't know. They're like, oh, managing a 401k is normal. Sure. I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
So like, how are they supposed to, what are some like precautions that you can give them, or how do you know that you can trust the financial advice that like you're getting from someone, especially as a pilot?
Yeah. I think that's where our firm is the best. I don't think there's anybody out there that can give any better advice to financial advisors other than Wiser Wealth Management. There probably is, but here's the problem I have with them is that they're charging a fee for 401ks to be managed. And I just have a big problem with that. Mm-hmm. Unions worked really hard to get 401k plans built the way they are. There's R&I committees at every airline that uses the Airline Pilots Association. And these are things that the committees have asked for and eventually have gotten out of the airlines over the years. And it's not necessarily contractually negotiated, but it's like, hey, Mr. Airline, can you guys do this? And if you do it for the pilot, typically you're doing it for management too, because sometimes they'll share the same plans. Mm-hmm. But if you're a 34-year-old pilot, and I only say 34 because that's when I did the math. If you're a 24 pilot, it's even worse. But if you're a 34-year-old pilot and you work till 65, if you pay a 1% management fee, you're going to spend over $3 million in fees.
Yeah.
And I don't know what for exactly.
Yeah.
Because what they do is they pull your money out of the 401k and they put it into the brokerage link assigned to the 401k. They often invest. I've seen all the portfolios these other companies use. They often invest in the exact same type of funds, like the S&P 500, small caps, foreign, but they're doing it in funds that cost you 5 times what the plan has.
Right.
The only reason why they don't do it inside the 401k plan, and they kind of say, oh no, we have more options outside the plan. You can't get more options than the S&P 500. You can get a lot of different S&P 500 index funds.
Yeah.
They all use it. They all use the S&P 500, but it costs you 0.01% per year in all the major airline 401k plans. But yet it's going to cost you 0.15.
Yeah.
Or even 0.05 outside the 401k plan. So that just doesn't make any sense. And then they said that, okay, we can allocate this differently. And I've never seen a portfolio that can outperform the basic investment advice inside the 401k plan adjusted for risk.
Right.
I've never seen it. And there's not a reason why during your wealth building stage that you need to have these companies managing your airline 401k plan. Like I said, I give away that information for free. It's on there on the website. And if you go through the planning process, we're going to log in with you and make sure everything gets changed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the other part of this is the in-depth financial planning, which we have lots of podcasts where you can download about our philosophies on the financial planning point. But that's the part they're not getting. So they're managing assets and there's this false sense of security that everything's okay.
Right.
And everything may be okay, but you don't know that it is okay.
So it's not backed up with planning.
Right. They haven't looked at your property casualty. They haven't looked at your insurance. They haven't looked at your estate planning and gone line by line to make sure it's what you intended.
Right. And they don't even know your goals, what they're allocating for.
Right. Do they know what is important to you and what you want to have accomplished by the time you're 80 years old? Probably not. I mean, it's cool to be able to talk about airplanes. I do that too. Unfortunately, you know this, but at the same time, you have to get back to the blueprint, and most people don't have the blueprint. Yeah. And that's what we're delivering here at Wiser. I think that's what makes us unique is the blueprint for the aviator and his family, to be able to kind of live their life by as they go forward. And hopefully we can recession proof their finances and furlough proof their finances by making sure that all the boxes are checked, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, so to wrap up our pilot conversation, to the pilot listening, what would be one thing that you told them to do this month that would improve their finances or to head towards an improvement of their finances?
I think the number one thing is asset allocation is so important. Stop picking your own stocks in the brokerage link. Turn off portfolio management. Go download that free allocation for your airline. Go invest that. I think that's the first thing that doesn't benefit our firm.
You can just do it. Right.
If there was a 1A to that, I would say go complete financial planning and then update that every few years. Right. That would be important. But I think the number one thing is let's get the allocation right. Because most pilots that are listening to a podcast about wealth management for pilots probably don't have a whole lot of debt, I'm assuming. So that's not the first priority.
Yeah.
But you might fly with ones who do.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we're about to roll out our first book.
Yeah.
I have an idea for the second book already.
Yes.
And it's bad financial decisions made at 30,000 feet.
Yeah.
Because that's what like loads up my phone every single week is, hey, I just flew with a guy or I just flew with a girl and this is what they're doing with their money. Should I be doing this? And the answer is almost always no, or the answer is that's great. But no, that does not apply to you.
Yeah, I know. I remember you would make jokes like during like a consultation or something. And you're like, yeah, I always hear I flew with a guy, I flew with a girl. And then I really started hearing it in like consultations. I was like, wow, this is so true. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, exactly. If you're flying with someone, they may need a free allocation or be told to get rid of your debt. There you go.
I know there's a few guys that do ground school, and I can always tell when he's doing ground school because there's an influx. Usually we get 20 downloads a week of the, but when I see like 85 downloads,
I'm like, everyone go.
This is a requirement. Everyone's like, yeah, I should do this to make sure I pass my ground school this week.
That's really funny.
And usually I get an email later. Hey, I talked about you in my ground school today. And I'm like, yeah, I figured there's tons of downloads.
Yeah, you're like,
probably during your ground school.
Well, I agree. That is a great piece of advice. So definitely go and do that. But thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're interested in learning more about Wiser Wealth Management or want to schedule a consultation to meet with one of our fiduciary financial advisors, you can do so by going to wiserinvestor.com or by clicking the link in the episode notes. See you next week.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening to a Wiser Retirement podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening. That way you don't miss any new episodes. We'd also appreciate if you could leave a rating and review. If you have any questions about anything that was discussed today, head to wiserinvestor.com and reach out. This podcast is strictly for informational purposes only and is not to be considered as investment advice or solicitation to buy or sell any financial products, securities, digital assets, or any other investment vehicles, or a basis to make any financial decisions. Wiser Wealth Management Incorporated is a registered investor advisor with the SEC. The host and/or guests may personally own securities, digital assets, or other investment vehicles mentioned on this podcast. Neither the host nor guests of the show are compensated for their participation, and no referral fees are paid to or received by any host or guest for clients, listeners, or similar interests. Investments involve risk, and unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor, tax professional, insurance professional, and/or legal professional before implementing any strategy discussed herein. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.